Alright guys, I'm going to keep it down a little bit because I do have a flatmate who is currently sleeping at the moment. So, let's jump into the news. Intelligence officer believes China meddled in the 2020 election to damage Trump. Got to be careful what we say on this one, don't we, YouTube? Just reporting the news, YouTube. No opinions or anything yet. So, it's interesting how the... It's interesting how the everybody was so concerned about Russia hacking the election in 2016, but when it comes to China in the 2020 election, all of a sudden they don't care, do they? It's weird that. Recent reports from the U.S. Intelligence Committee shocked the nation. The report reveals that that a minority of intelligence officers are convinced the Chinese government party, CCP, tried to affect Donald Trump's chances in the 2020 presidential election. They also report that the CCP did not deploy interference efforts. Anyway, join our Telegram channel here. Yep, okay. So, the National Intelligence Council released a report on March 10th. According to which report, Russia sought to denigrate Joe Biden and support Trump during the election, adding that Chinese did not deploy interference efforts and considered, but they did not deploy interference efforts intending to change the outcome of the US presidential election. We have high confidence in the judgment. So I don't know what they mean by did not deploy interference. Did not deploy interference efforts and considered, but did not deploy interference efforts intended to change the outcome. The same report asserts that China sought stability in its relationship with the United States and did not view either election outcome as being advantageous enough for China to risk blowback if caught. Intelligence officers suspected that Beijing probably believed that its traditional influence tools, primary target economic measures, and lobbying key individuals and interest groups would be sufficient to achieve its goal in shaping the US policies, regardless of who won the election. We did not identify a China attempt to interfere with the election infrastructure or providing funding to any candidates or parties. Right. I'm confused. The report also shows that some UN intelligence officers say China tried to undermine Trump. The National Intelligence Officer for Cyber asserts that China took some steps to undermine former President Trump's re-election chances, primarily through social media and official public statements. The media says the reason in its minority views section. The NIO agrees with this IC's view that Beijing was primarily focused on countering anti-Chinese policies, but asserts that some of Beijing's efforts were intended to at least indirectly affect the US candidates. Political process and voter preferences met the definition for election interference used in this report. The NIO agrees that we have no information suggesting China tried to interfere with the election process. So they didn't interfere with the election process, but they went through and used their influence to affect public statement and the media. And I have something else I want to add on that too. I think there's another way they tried to do it. The paragraph is related to the National Intelligence Office, NIO, for cyber issues on the National Intelligence Council. It leads out intelligence community in cyber analysis and analyzing challenges to the US elections. We assert that Beijing risk calculus against interfering in the election was informed by China's preference for stability in the Bolshevik relationship. Their probe judgment and attempting to influence the election could do lasting damage to US-China ties, and the belief that the election of either candidate would present opportunities and challenges for China. That's the majority states, but there was a minority that disagreed. In 2020, the then Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, said that China affected the 2020 federal elections, alleging that the management of the CIA suppressed the intelligence about the Chinese election interference. The Department of Justice, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Department of Homeland Security and its cyber agencies, claim that they have no evidence, doesn't mean it didn't happen, of any foreign government affecting an affiliated actor, such as Russia, China, or Iran, preventing voting. Well, okay, but no one said they did. Changing votes or disrupting the ability to tally the votes or to transmit election results in a timely manner. Okay, they're being very, very specific there, which makes me wonder. Altered any text aspect of the voting process or other compromise of the integrity of voting regulation information or of any ballot cast during the 2020 federal election. Okay, that's not how I think they meddled with the election, though. Ratcliffe said he supports the stated minority view based on all available sources of intelligence with definitions consistently applied and reach independent of political consideration or due process. Then the People's Republic of China sought to influence the US election. So, I think China meddled in the election, but it wasn't through this. I think they meddled through it by funding organizations like Black Lives Matter, all these sort of race riots that we had over the time. A lot of those, even here in Australia, they were all backed by the CCP. That is how I think they affected the election. I think they affected it by causing mass upheaval and going through and simply getting people all wound up regarding race and, the police and defund the police and stuff like that. That's how I think they did it, but I have no proof of that for 100%, except the fact that we have some of the Black Lives Matters organisers were funded by China, which was interesting in itself. So you have a Chinese government, which is a very communist government, communist capitalist mix, funding a Black Lives Matter group that is very communist in nature. It's completely reasonable that they would actually want to support each other. Apart from that, guys, obviously at the end of the day, Mr. Pillow, Mike, I forget his last name, has said that he has some evidence of election meddling. He was on Jimmy Kimmel the other night saying about this. I was going to talk about the interview, but to be honest, the interview is just disgusting. Every time Mike tried to make a point, Jimmy Kimmel would just go back and say, but you used to be on crack, sort of thing. Do you think the crack might be making you paranoid? This sort of stuff. Just constantly trying to bring up the whole crack, and because he used to do crack when he was younger, and going on about how, you sound like you're still paranoid, and it was a really embarrassing interview for Jimmy Kimmel, because anytime someone wanted to bring up a decent point, he'd just try and discredit him by going on about the crack, which is funny because if Hunter Biden was on there, I imagine he would not get the same treatment. But hey, we'll see. Apart from that, guys, as for this, I'm interested to see what Mr. Pillow has. What Mike has to say. I'll see what evidence he's got. If he's got anything good, I'll report on it. If he hasn't, I'll report on it still, and just tell you what I think. And that's what we do here. It's basically just tell you my thoughts and opinions. As for this, do I think China had an interest in the election? Sure. Do I think they meddled? I think they meddled by funding Black Lives Matter groups and stuff like that. There was that whole $600,000 in counterfeit bills that was found over near one of the major cities that kicked off the whole Black Lives Matter rallies and stuff, and that was apparently linked to China. So if I can quickly find it. I'd have to look it up. I think it was like $600,000 or something. So at the end of the day, I think that's how they meddled in the election. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, guys, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, I will see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. 3 videos for the day. Have a great night. See you in video 2. Talk to you guys then.